Hello, hello, hello. This is Leslie Walker-Hirsch, and today I have the great pleasure of talking with my great good friend, Marklyn Champagne. Marklyn is a licensed clinical social worker and an RN, and also so close a friend that she's practically in my Blue Hug family circle. Marklyn and I are the co-creators of the Circles curriculum series, and Marklyn is here to spend a little time with us. Hi, Marklyn. How are you, dear?
Leslie, hello. I'm so happy to join you via the magic of Skype.
Isn't it great?
It really is.
So, Marklyn, you've been providing and working with individuals with intellectual disabilities for many, many years, first as a nurse and more recently as a clinical social worker. Tell us a little bit about your work.
Well, for the last 25 years or so, I've been in private practice with people of all abilities, and I provide individual and group therapy. I specialize in working with trauma victims, and I love the journey of the healing process. I also provide training and consultation to parents groups, schools, and agencies concerning circles and all aspects of social sexual behavior.
Well, our audience, probably many of them are already using circles, but for those who aren't, can you tell a little bit about what circles is, what the concept is, and how it's been put into a curriculum format for people to learn social boundaries?
Sure, love to. So, Circles curriculum and concept is a paradigm of 6 concentric circles with an individual in the center, and it's built around aspects of special education techniques such as video modeling, rehearsal strategies, experiential learning, and expressive arts.
And even color coding, I might add.
Color coding, pairing, yes, there's many aspects of special education techniques in it. And it's amazing to me that James Stanfield published the first Circles multimedia program in 1980. It's been updated many times since then, and currently we have Circles 1, Intimacy and Relationships, Circles 2, Circles Stop Abuse, and now the app.
Yes. And tell our group and our listeners, how is it that you use circles in your practice to help victims of trauma who have intellectual disabilities?
Wow. The paradigm is so easy to use that I use the graphics for every person that I'm with, truly, to show the boundaries that are existing in their life. And it's very healing because they can see they're in the center of all of their circles. And the circles paradigm really begins with, you're the most important person in your world. And it's a very healing statement to make to people. And therapeutically, they're able to take that and say, wow, I'm deserving of good relationships. I can be surrounded by safe and wonderful people, and I can decide.
So your special expertise in treating people with ID who have been sexually abused. So how would you define sexual abuse? We all know it when we see it, but what kind of a definition can you provide for listeners so they could communicate that succinctly to other people?
Well, I consider it a range of unwanted sexual acts, from bullying, manipulative language, all the way through rape. And sexual abuse is really a crime of power. And the weapon is sex and secrecy. They're the weapons. So it's forced, it's threatening, it's coercion, and it's power and control over an individual who's not consenting to the sexual touch.
And sometimes people are tricked into thinking that this is a romance, but in fact, it's abuse.
It's abuse, yes.
So, can you give us some statistics about sexual abuse of people with intellectual disabilities? My graduate students sometimes say, well, you know, my clients, my students, they're not all that sexy looking and they don't wear low-cut dresses or bingle-bangle earrings. So why would they be victims? Because the students need to learn a few things. What would you teach them about that?
Wow, that's loaded. That's like 2 questions in one lesson.
11.
Yeah, well, first let's do the statistics, okay? And statistics come from many different sources. But today I picked out ones that are most recent, and I'm going to read them to you so I get them really right, okay? From the U.S. Department of Justice, we learn that 1 out of 3 girls and 1 out of 5 boys without disabilities are abused by 18. And that for people with intellectual disabilities, they're 5 times more likely to be sexually abused. From what's been reported, approximately 80% of women and 30% of men with intellectual disabilities have been sexually assaulted. And in about 95% of the cases, it's considered violent, meaning sexual intercourse, fondling, and masturbation. And over multiple times. More than 50% of the women reported being assaulted more than 10 times, while only about 20% of sexual violence cases are limited to 1, which is bad enough, but at any rate. Now, the perpetrators, according to the CDC statistics, say that about 95% of the perpetrators are known to the victim, and they are family, caretakers, acquaintances, other people with intellectual disabilities, and healthcare providers. And now to your question as to why they're abused, because they're not sexy looking. Again, sexual abuse is not about how you look. It's about power and control. And this population is so marginalized that they don't know. They don't have enough information. They don't know that they deserve to not be abused. And they have limited opportunity to even report abuse. They are taken care of well into adulthood. And again, back to the threats and coercion, they're told if they tell, there will be repercussions, so they don't tell.
It's a sad commentary. And it's a very serious issue that we're dealing with here. So tell me, now that you have, you know, the Circles curriculum with all of its videos and wonderful opportunities for experiential learning and follow-up, are mostly aimed at large agencies or school districts or classroom use. And so what about families or students who don't have a classroom teacher that is doing circles with them? Or even if they are, if it takes them longer to catch on, how can a family help them with that?
Well, we are absolutely delighted to now have the Circles app.
Oh, yes.
Because it can be individualized, personalized immediately with a picture, putting the individual right there in the purple private circle, and they can see who's around them. The app is easy to use. It can be used for multiple people. You can learn at your own pace or teach at the individual's pace. It's charming. It's absolutely charming, and reviews the appropriate social behavior and touch, talk, and trust as you use it with the person. The people I've used it with absolutely are in love with it, and it's very easy to get. If you go to www.stanfield.com, you'll be able to find the app and download it to the iPad.
Great. That's really great. It'll be very convenient for home use and to use again and again. I sometimes have suggested that the whole family make their own circles on the app and then print the app so that each person in the family has a consistent view of what the rules are for behavior.
Very good. Yes, indeed. I send people home with that.
Great. So, families are often disbelieving that the person who they care about and care for with a disability has really been sexually inappropriately touched. What should families look for when they're thinking about whether their child is being bullied at school or even molested in a more physical way? What should they look for?
Well, behavior or changes in behavior are really the standard by which we start to become suspicious that something is going on. Many times people's appetite will change, their activity level will change, sleep patterns will change. There's also self-injurious behavior, aggressiveness that can go on, and crying spells, vague physical complaints. And then sometimes for people with limited language, they will act out the abuse on other people around them or on their stuffed animals, their siblings or pets. And we must believe when we see these behaviors that something's going on and investigate that.
Wow. We're all so concerned with people having good relationships, and yet there are others who would take advantage of that. This is such an important topic, Marklyn. Anything else that you'd like to add that we haven't discussed that's urgent? Because if you don't, we should at least tell people how they can get in touch with you, because this topic is ginormous. And in a 10-minute call, we can't really cover it completely. So how would people find you and get in touch?
Well, I always welcome conversations about this, and the easiest way to get in touch with me would be to visit my website, which has all of the salient contact information there, and that's marklynchampagne.com.
Well, that's pretty easy. You are so generous to spend your time with us today. Thank you so much, and we'll look forward to hearing what our listeners have to say. Thank you, my dear Marklyn, my BFF. I'll see you later.
Leslie, thank you for the opportunity, and thank you for the good work that you continue to do.
Thank
Take
you,
good
dear.
care.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.